Hello, everyone. Hello. Let me just check if it's working. Because today we had a little bit of problems here. Yes, okay. So I think everything's all right. Welcome. It's really nice to have you here today. So today we are going to be discussing the topic, the law of love, which is a very important topic to our lives. And I'm very grateful to be able to bring that, because I had to study in order to come and bring that here to you. So before we start, we always like to do a concentration and to make sure we connect with our spiritual mentors and guides. So if you want to close your eyes or not, please join me. So let's take a deep breath and relax in our seats where we are and connect with our spiritual guides, these loving beings that are always here to support us in our journey. And as we are going to discuss today, in our journey towards love, we thank them. We thank the higher spirits of the Pauline Stevens Spiritist Center and ask them for inspiration and for guidance so we can bring a clear message and that might be able to reach and touch people's hearts. So please stay with us. So be it. So thank you, everyone. Like I said, today our topic is going to be the law of love. And today's topic is based on the Gospel According to Spiritism, and it's chapter 11. And I used bits and pieces of that chapter. I also used the Spirit's book, and I'll be reminding where I found the information. And I used this book called Thought and Life by the higher spirit called Emmanuel. And you can find that in English. So that's a good thing. It's a beautiful book, and Emmanuel, he brings the ideas together so beautifully. And when he talks about love, it's incredibly touching. So if you have the opportunity, I think you might be able to download the PDF, but I do know you can buy the book as well. So it's Thought and Life. So let's begin. It is a challenge, isn't it? While we're learning how to love, to talk about love and the law of love, which is the divine law of love. And I went to the dictionary to try to understand what the dictionary brings in terms of what love means, because we use love in so many different situations and they don't mean the same thing. So when we hear about divine love, what we tend to do is bring that to our reality, which is still very far from the reality of what divine love is. And we are going to see today, as we go through the teachings that the spirits brought us, that their idea of love is so much more refined, because we are learning, we are on this journey that we are learning, and ultimately we are going back to love. So we are going towards love, which is divine love. So I looked in the dictionary for the meaning of love, and there were two items, and it said an intense feeling of deep affection. So that would be the first definition. And the second, a great interest and pleasure in something. So these were the two main ones. But when I looked for the synonyms, words that we could use in place of love, I found 70 different ones. 70, almost 70. And they were so different. And there were so many nuances to that. So no wonder why sometimes we bring that back to us, because they're normally linked more to relation to one another. And it's linked to, say, sometimes people say, oh my God, I love this movie, or I love this food, which is the second option, like a great interest in something. It doesn't even have to be a person. It can be animals, plants, it doesn't matter. So when Jesus brought the idea of love to humanity, he brought a much broader idea that we're going to see. And he explained how we were going to interact, how that was going to develop in us. So keep that in mind. We have 70 words, and I'll say some so you have an idea, but you can look in the dictionary. It goes from a fondness, like a liking, to maternal affection towards a child, which is completely different, to an interest, to romantic relationship. So it's not very clear for us yet. But that's okay, because we are developing that sense, like we are developing the other senses and virtues. We're learning what they are so we can apply it to us. So Emmanuel, in another book called Living Source, he said that we are constantly seeking new teachings about what we have to do, about what is it that's necessary, and what do I have to do different. And Emmanuel says in this book, he says, if we look carefully, everything that we need to develop into a better human being, we already received. And he says, you already have everything you need to transform completely your life. And he said, Jesus summarized that beautifully when he said, and I'm going to read, and you can find that in Luke 10:27, that love God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your strength, and with all your mind, and love your neighbor as thyself, as you love yourself. So he said that within that, you have all the teachings, and that's what Jesus said, that has all the teachings that we need. So perhaps we have to have a closer look to what it means to love your neighbor, to love yourself, and to love God. If we look at the Spirits book, and this is in question 648, the higher spirits were talking about the divine laws, because they said that we are subject to physical laws in our planet, and that may vary from one planet to another. So if we lived in a different planet, we might have different laws. We don't know. However, the divine laws, or the natural laws, they are universal. So everywhere you go, you're going to find the same laws. And Kardec was questioning the higher spirits, because they brought the laws, and they said, why did you divide the laws the way that you did? And they said, only for your understanding. So we divided into 10 laws. That doesn't have to be that way. You can divide it in another way. You can organize it in another way. But it contains all the important topics that human beings have to observe or have to learn more deeply. And one of the laws, which is the last one that was on the list, was called the law of justice, love, and charity. If you look at the other ones, I'll read them, which is the law of worship, the law of labor, law of reproduction, preservation, destruction. They were all one little word represented the law. And the law of justice, love, and charity was the only one that had a complex, compound name. And it wasn't by chance, obviously, because they could have broken that down into 3 different laws. But we're going to understand how deeply connected justice and charity are to love, and how, if we live that, we are able to transform our lives. And that's what the spirits say, that this, and you can find that in question 648, that this law is the most important, since through it humans can advance the farthest in their spiritual life, and it sums up all the others. So everything sits under the law of love. And we can see that their understanding of love, it has justice and charity as their arms, let's say that way. So the arms of love is justice and charity, but everything else sits underneath. For example, the law of society, which could be called the law of fraternity, which is our relationship with each other in a society. It also sits under the law of love. And when we look at the definition in the same chapter where they talk about the law of love, the spirits answering Kardec, when Kardec asks, aside the rights consecrated by human law, that means the human laws, which are not the divine laws. So the divine justice is different from human justice. What is the basis of justice found in the natural law? So he's asking the spirits, what is the base for the divine justice? And the spirits answer this: Christ has told you, do unto others whatsoever you would have them do unto you. So does that sound a little bit familiar with the love that Jesus, like the golden rule that Jesus told, that is the maximum of his teachings, which is love your neighbor as you love yourself, and love God and creation above all, like in encompassing all. And then further on, they ask about charity. So the question about justice is 876 if you want to study and look further. And about charity is 886. And they say, what is the true meaning of the word charity as Jesus understood it? Because it's not how we understand it, because we're still developing our understanding of these things, of what justice is, what charity is, what love is, what faith it means exactly, isn't it? I mean deeply understanding, not superficially. And the Spirit's answers, it's benevolence towards everyone. It's indulgence towards the imperfections of others. And it's forgiveness of the offenses. So we know, and we can see that in this booklet this little book that I said, Thought and Life, that love is action by us through charity. So I'm going to read because he's fantastic in his wording. So Emmanuel says that the eternal providence is a source of infinite love. So the divine providence is the source of infinite love. And if we go in John, in chapter 4, if I'm not mistaken, it's item 8, but I can check in a minute. John says God is love. And here, Emmanuel is saying the same thing. That is infinite love. And listen to this part. Permanently donating. So not only that the eternal providence is divine love, it's constantly donating or providing that love to all creation. And look how interesting what he says. Requesting channels of expression to distribute it. So you have God constantly donating to all creation, but requesting channels of expression so that love for creation can manifest. And who might it be that might be these channel of expressions? Definitely human beings might be these channel of expressions. So we are the ones who can manifest this love that God has for humanity to other human beings, to nature, to animals, and to ourselves. And that's what we're going to see. That God awaits us so we can share the love that he has for all creation. And that we can see that when the spirits ask Kardec what the purpose of reincarnation is. That's in question 132. And they say one is develop yourself as a being, go towards perfection. And the second is to collaborate with God in his creation. So that's what Emmanuel is saying in this book, Thought and Life, because our thoughts determine our life. And this is what they're saying. The way that we behave and the way that we act with ourselves and with people around us can collaborate in God expressing this beautiful, eternal love that's always flowing from him towards us. And he says that pure love, look how beautiful, is the reflection of Creator in all its creatures. So all of us have that divine love within us. And it's constantly flowing in our way. Some people that have the ability to that have been meditating for a long time, sometimes they experience this sensation, some people call nirvana or ecstasy or whatever, where they actually can feel a glimpse of what is it. They say that time stops. It seems like time stops, and it's just this amazing, pure love that seems to be everywhere. So that's what's there available to us, and what God wants us to develop within ourselves, the ability to share this love. And how do we do that? And we go back to that love thy neighbor as thyself. So the basis of everything would start with us, in us learning how to love ourselves. And it's a bit challenging because we think that we love ourselves, and that's the problem. And it might be that it's not love because we're still learning what that word means in terms of divine love. And it might also be that we think that we do, but we haven't looked at ourselves fully, and we haven't understood ourselves. So we know that we have to know ourselves to be able to love ourselves. But if we don't do that reflective work, it's really hard for us to know who we truly are and what areas we might need to improve or what lessons we haven't learned to be able to fully love others. However, you don't have to just close yourself within yourself trying to learn how to love yourself, because that happens as we interact with others. And nature is so perfect that we have mechanisms that we perceive sometimes in others what we don't see in ourselves. So when we're interacting with other people, that's where we learn how to love, because we start seeing things that we don't like in the other person, and we try to develop that. So we are more capable of looking within us to identify that in us and love ourselves despite that. I received in one of the groups that I participate a beautiful video. I'm not going to spoil it. I'm just going to, it was in America's Got Talent, and one of the judges posted it. And it's a young woman that she goes by the name of Nightbird. And she went to sing, and she was going through very difficult situation in her life. It seems for the past, I'm not going to tell what it was. Please watch it. So it's Simon something, Conwell. If you go to his Facebook page, you'll see. It's beautiful. It's worth watching that. And she said something so important. She's very young. She's only 30, and she's going through these huge amount of emotional pain and physical pain. And the judges say something, and she's in front of the huge public, and the judges say something to her. And listen to what she says. She says, people are saying, but you're not okay. And then she said, look, it's important that everyone knows that I am so much more than the bad things that happen to me. Isn't that amazing? That a person so young had the opportunity to reflect during these very dark times for her, to reflect on that she is much more than whatever it is that's bad that's happening to us. And so learning to love yourself is not an easy task, but it's a necessary task. Because while we're learning, and we're learning to love the other, we have to develop this awareness of where is it that we still have to improve. And I thought that it was so beautiful that she could notice that despite having everything that was happening in her life, and the song that she sang was an original that she composed based on what she was living. It's beautiful. Her voice is beautiful. It's worth watching that video. But for me, what really caught my attention, maybe because I was preparing for this, was her level of awareness that despite everything that was going around her, that she was so much more than everything that was happening, that she was something else. And this is what Jesus proposed when he said, love your neighbor as thyself, is learning to find that within us so we can find that within the other, so we can respect the God within the other person. So like I said, you go loving one and loving another. And there's another interesting story that I heard, that people sometimes find it really hard. They're going through really tough times. And this was a psychiatrist. He was telling this story because he believes that when people find meaning to life, when they can reframe what's happening to them, they can live much better. Is the situation going to change? No. But you can live much better when you learn to reframe what's happening to you around. So this doctor, he had a patient, and the patient was very depressed. He had been married for many years. He loved his wife, and his wife had passed away. And he could not, he was having a lot of trouble wanting to live. He didn't want to live. He started having suicidal thoughts. And he came to speak to the doctor and say, look, I can't take this emotional pain. I miss her too much. It's very, very difficult. And the psychologist was a very competent psychologist that knew what he was doing. So after listening to everything that the man had to say, he said, okay, would you have preferred that your wife stayed and you had died? And he said, yes, yes. And then the doctor asked the second question, which was, how would she bear the suffering? So you're telling me you prefer that she would suffer what you're suffering than you. And then he said, no, I would never, I don't want anyone to ever experience what I'm experiencing. And then the doctor said, so you wouldn't want her to experience what you're experiencing? He said, no, I love her. I would take that on. And then he said, exactly. So every time you think of what's happening to you, you can think to yourself, you are taking on the pain that would be your wife's pain, and that's what you're carrying. And the doctor said that his face lit up because he was moving from fear, anger, pain, suffering to love. And he took that and he said, I understand. I understand. I prefer 1,000 times that I have to cope with that than my wife. And then he started living a better life for himself. So sometimes we have to learn how to reframe. We have to move more towards love and towards self-love and towards the love of another, like this happened to this gentleman. So he focused his love on his wife, and therefore he focused the love on himself. So that's where we start developing love for others and love for self, and love for self and love for others. In the Spirit's book, there's a conclusion, which is a wrap-up that Kardec gathered with the higher spirits. And if you go to that part, the conclusion, and in item number 4, this is what they say. The progress of humanity has as its principle, so the progress has as its principle the practical application of the law of justice, love, and charity. So our progress has the principle of applying this law of justice, love, and charity. So we can apply a law, we have to learn what that law is about, isn't it? So we have to understand fully how justice is linked to love, how charity is linked to love. And we know that charity is love in action, like we said, like Emmanuel said in Thought in Life. God is distributing love, manifesting in this world through us, through our good deeds, through our care to ourselves, to others, and to the environment, and to creation. So that's charity, which is love in action. And justice is love applied to how we treat each other. So it's all very linked. And this is, now listen how interesting what the spirits say. Okay, so that's what happened. Progress happens when we apply this law of justice and love and charity. All the other laws are derived from this law because it entails all the conditions for human happiness. So this law entails, that means it covers all the conditions for human happiness in this one law. And that's why Emmanuel said in the very beginning that sometimes we're looking for new things to learn, which is wonderful. He wasn't criticizing that. We have to develop in knowledge and we have to develop in love. But he said that the essence of what we truly have to do, which is learn how to grow in love, because everything else sits under that, is already available to us. And look at this. It alone, the application of this law, can heal the affliction of society. So if we learn how to apply this law, and this law only, it covers all the other laws, and it can heal the afflictions of society. That's what the spirits are saying. And more interesting yet that they said is that we can judge this by comparing the various eras and peoples since their conditions improve. So as we improve as human beings, this law is better understood and it's translated into human laws, and therefore it's better applied. And then he said, so we haven't understood fully that law yet, but we can, if we look at society, we can see that we progressed, isn't it? So if we look back, we can see that slowly we're moving towards a better understanding of what love truly is and what was meant by loving the other and loving yourself. Now he concludes saying, imagine if partially and incomplete application, that means we haven't understand completely, we're doing just what we understood, it has produced such real benefit. What would happen if all social institutions were to take this law as their basis. So what would happen if we truly implemented that in our day-to-day lives? So even incomplete, and the way that we're doing is the best that we can with what we have, imagine when we fully understand this law, what's going to happen to this planet and how much we're going to transform. There's a psychiatrist called Elizabeth Kubler-Ross, and a grief therapist called David Kessler. And they wrote a book together that's called, interesting title, listen, Life Lessons. Two experts on death, because both of them were focusing on death. So two experts on death and dying teach us about the mysteries of life and living. So this psychiatrist, she said that from everything that she had studied and noticed in her practice, she got to the conclusion that there's only two basic emotions, and everything else derives from that. And you might have heard this: love and fear. So those are the basic emotions. And she says all positive emotions come from love. All negative emotions come from fear. So you have these two. And she says this, look, they cannot live together. They cannot be together, fear and love. When we are in a place of love, we cannot be in a place of fear. And that she said not too long ago, because she's still alive. And if we go back and we look at what John wrote in chapter 4 and item 18, like the line 18, listen to what he said 2,000 years ago. And that's what Emmanuel was saying, that the teachings are already here. We just have to discover them. John says, there is no fear in love. This is, you can go to the Bible and check. But perfect love drives out fear, because fear has to do with punishment. So he's saying, or she's saying exactly what he said 2,000 years ago, that fear and love, they can't be in the same place. So if we haven't learned how to love fully yet, it's because we still have fear to deal with. And that's where we have to look within us. And that's where the part of developing ourselves comes in place. It's almost time for us to finish. So John also says in that chapter that God is love. And we know that love is the binding force of the universe. So I'm going to quote a little piece of what Emmanuel writes about love. I'm not going to read it all because it's very long. But he says that, as I mentioned before, pure love is the Creator's reflection in all creatures. It shines in everything, and in everything it pulses in the same vibration of wisdom and beauty. It is the foundation of life and justice in the entire law. Listen to this. It appears sublime in the balance of the worlds, but also in the anonymous flower forgotten in the field. So if you have, in any part of creation, you will find the same love from God. So the spirits say, we see love, therefore, as a silent hope of divinity, awaiting evolution of all its creatures and respecting the decision of everyone. So he continues saying that a worm is as much loved as an angel, which for us, we might not understand. But he says that the love he has for that creature and the patience he has for that creature to evolve is the same love that he has for the angel. And he said that it's so big, the love that God has for us, that he has given us eternity to come back to good and to love. So that's what I had to bring for you, for all of you. I hope it has been useful. This is a topic that's worth looking at and studying. So please don't just stay on this, because that's the most important topic, as the spirits say, that we have to learn about in our lives so we can develop fully. I'll finish with a quick vibration. But before I do, I just wanted to say that the Polis and Stephen Spiritus Center, we support charities, not only here in Australia, that we have a charity that we run, but also in other places in the world. So if you feel that that's something that speaks to your heart, you can, hello, only now that I can see people commenting, sorry. I was so focused. Thank you, Maria Antonia, Erica. So if you feel that that's something that is worth contributing to, one is the breakfast for the homeless and also winter clothes for the homeless. So this project is where we support people that are living in the streets to go through this period with a little bit more comfort. You can donate through our website, and you can go there and you will find the link. Okay, we also donate to charities in Brazil at this time, because they are in need of support, especially with food and basic needs. Okay, everyone. So let's quickly just thank our mentors and our guides, and unite our thoughts so we can truly contribute. And as we discuss here today, be the channels to express the divine love on this planet. And we can do that through the vibration of love towards the people that need it and the people that we love as well. So as we unite in thought, we send these vibrations of love to all of those in need around the planet. May it be physical need, spiritual need, mental. May they receive this in their hearts. We also vibrate for everyone that's working towards a better world, so they can have faith and hope and perseverance, persistence. They can really be the agents and the channels of this divine love, bringing it to the community. We ask for all humanity on planet Earth, may they be incarnate or discarnate. We ask for the people that are closer to us, our family and friends. And we ask the spirits to help us as well, so we can take this and we can contribute and be a beam of light wherever it is that we go. Thank you, God. So be it. So thank you, everyone, and I hope to see you another time.